Kind of want to talk about fitness for a second. I'm kind of an area of it that I typically avoid talking about. So I don't want to offend people. I want to encourage people, not offend people. But I feel like it's got to be talked about. Talking about fitness is kind of hard sometimes with people who, okay, so obviously if you're someone who goes to the gym all the time, that's one thing. Or if you're someone, who's wanting to get in shape, it's a little easier. It's hard sometimes to talk about fitness in the fact, or just because you're kind of, by saying you need to get in shape, you're kind of saying I'm not in shape. And so to tell someone like, hey, I'll help you, is to acknowledge the fact that they're not already in shape. Or to say it a much negative way is they're fat or they're, whatever. That's the main one. There's underweight, there's different things, mobility. But for the most part, it's like, it could be perceived as you're telling me that I'm fat, and that's offensive. And so it's hard to talk about sometimes, even though we all know that health is a thing and poor health is dangerous and good health is healthy. Okay, it's kind of like if you have a loved one who is an alcoholic or has a drug problem. Like, they have a problem, they know they have a problem, but if you talk about it, they probably don't want to talk about it. And there's a good chance that if you bring it up, it's going to get explosive. It's going to be a fight. It's almost like a taboo, right? Which is why we do like interventions. But in the health world, it's one of those things where it's like, it's got that taboo. You don't want to talk about it. And a lot of us too is like, you care about the person. You don't want to bring it up. You don't want to be rude. You don't want to be insensitive. And then it's really easy. Our society is set up to where it's so easy to keep making excuses. Oh, I'm really busy right now. I'm just trying to get this one thing done. In ministry, there's always, talk to pastors for a second, and ministry people for a second, there's always like that next thing. Like, well, we got the Easter program I just have to get through, and then I'm going to start going to the gym again. Oh, we got, VBS, summer camp, youth convention, there's a Christmas program. There's always, something, always something. You just have to make time for it. You have to prioritize it, really. And so I got to just really quick tell a little bit of my story, so it's not like I'm just some person who's like, you should get in shape, you should be fat and overweight, which is not what I'm trying to say. It's not about that. It's about the health, right? Benefits. And it's about, as a believer, it's about being a good steward of our bodies. And I know we downplay that, right? And it seems like gluttony, laziness, all those things, lack of discipline really is something that has just been the okay sin. So for the same reason the church is really highlighted homosexuality as being the worst sin. It's the worst thing you could do. Homosexuality is so bad, and by extension, basically all sexual sin is the worst thing you can do. In the same way, it's all those extra tokens we took and put in homosexuality and other forms of sexual sin. It's like we took them from discipline, self-control, stewarding our own bodies, stewarding our time, our resources as a believer. So it's perfectly acceptable for a 400-pound preacher to get up in a size 5X, 6X suit and give a sermon. And I've even seen it on talking about fasting. Talking about fasting, believe it or not. Dude's 460 pounds. Talking about, discipline, especially and my thing is too, is if you're an unbeliever, I just imagine being a 25-year-old guy who's sleeping with his girlfriend, and his girlfriend invites him to church or whatever. They get to church, and there is, up on the stage, a man wearing a 5X suit. His message, half of his message, let's be honest, your message is all about food. Show me a preacher who is not morbidly obese, who doesn't talk about food. Every time, their messages, every illustration, every example is about food. They make jokes about, as you can tell, I like to eat, all these things. It's we're bragging about it. And then it's all the stories about, I was taking my girls, to IHOP for all you can eat pancake morning, and all the stories revolve around food, because that's what their life revolves around, is food. And then imagine being that 25-year-old guy he's sleeping with his girlfriend, but other than that, he feels like his life's pretty good. But he's and now his minister's telling him, you should be disciplined. You should be self-controlled, young man. From the pulpit, not literally him, or maybe in counseling. And it's well, why shouldn't we be living together? Well, you should be disciplined, and you should have more self-control over your sexual urges. you should be disciplined and have more control over what you put in your mouth. And it's like, well, we're not talking about that. We're talking about you and your sexual perversion. It's like, well, can we talk about you and your gluttony and your lack of self-control? In any area except for a couple ones that tie specifically to your public image, those you have some self-control in, like, but then everything else is just, your life is kind of out of whack. Like, can we talk about that for a little bit? Oh, no? Oh, okay. Yeah, we can't talk about that. Sorry, it's like a combination of ADD and like the bad lighting in the gym that keeps making me want to move. Keep fixing the shot and then just to move around. So yeah, really quick, I'm going to this part. Health is important, okay? We can deny it and we can say, oh, the Bible says, health is, there's some benefit in physical exercise, but in spiritual. Okay, but that doesn't mean that, like when God said, or Jesus said, give to Caesar what is Caesar's and God unto God's, it didn't mean it was like, well, you're not Caesar and you're not God, so I can neglect my family. I don't actually have to be here for you guys because you're not Caesar or God's, so therefore, right? Like as crazy as that would be, sometimes this stuff, it's like, oh, the Bible says that, there's some benefit. Yeah, so there's some benefit. And part of that is there's some benefit because we're only going to be on this earth for an average of like 80-ish years. So there's only some benefit because then you're going to die or be raptured. You're going to one day have a perfected body, and then there's no more benefit to that versus what you do for God. Obviously, there's a eternal benefit. So it's not meaning like there's only some benefit to physical. No, it's meaning like that's going to end. So there's a huge amount of benefit here as you steward your body, but then you're going to die, and all that work, all the time that I spent in the gym, all the discipline I put into eating healthy, getting in shape, that's going to end because then I'm going to have a perfected body. And the things I do for my spirit are going to last, right? That's going to continue on with me for eternity. But while you're here, you're still supposed to steward it. So just because, it'd be like saying like, oh, it's a rental, so I'm going to trash it. And I've heard pastors who even say that. Like, this is how low the bar has been. Someone sent me, you should listen to this guy. He's really good. This is how you should do it. They wanted me to preach on a certain thing, so they sent me like a pastor that liked. And I was like, this guy's, no pun intended, but this guy's garbage. He literally starts off his sermon by bragging about how he trashes rental cars because he gets charged a cleaning fee. But that's how we sometimes, as believers, we get like this with things. And so it's like, the planet doesn't matter because it's all going to be remade anyways. Well, how about the generations who have to deal with the mess that past generations made before that happens? There's not a ton of benefit to physical because, we're going to be eternal one day. Okay, but how about your witness and your health here? How about if you die at 68 because you were unhealthy and the last, 9 years of your ministry were kind of, that you couldn't do as much anyways, versus you died at 88 and you were healthy up until the end. You just died in your sleep one day and you were writing books and you were discipling and leading, classes and teaching all these different things, right? Like, you're going to be judged for that. Like, that ministry you couldn't do because you died early because you were out of shape. You died because, you got diabetes or a heart attack or any of these things because you weren't taking care of yourself. Any of that time that like you were supposed to die at 88 and you died at 68, all that ministry in there doesn't just go away. You're going to be held accountable for that one day. You're going to sit before judgment for that. That's kind of one of the things that got me. I used to be 360 something pounds. I know some people are like, I can't believe it. Like, well, here's some photos. I used to be 360 something pounds. I'm now in like the 230s. I'm a little heavier right now because I've been sitting between 235, 245. Just because it dawned on me, like, I'm going to die way too early. I'm going to miss out on time with my grandkids. I'm going to miss out on time with my adult children. I'm going to miss out on ministry opportunity. Even the times I am around, even if I die in my 60s, my health is going to be poor. I'm going to be like, the guy with the dad with, diabetes. He's got the walker. He's got to sit and catch his breath. He can't go on the hike in Yosemite. He'll stay down at base camp and, get lunch ready or any of those kind of things. Like, I didn't want that life. And then I also saw, like, God kept showing me the ministry he had called me to do and how I wasn't going to be able to do it as a fat, sloppy, 360-pound guy. And I saw in that vision, amongst other things, that I needed to lose weight and get in shape. It was hard. It's been hard. It's been 5 years, and I'm still not even to where I saw in that vision. But it's a discipline, right? And so it's something I work at. And so I want to talk about that just a minute. I'm basically done. But like just the health benefits alone, like just getting your cardiovascular system and just your vascular system, right? Like getting all that stuff, your endurance up, just being able to get up, like your preaching is going to get better because you're going to be able to not be as winded. You're going to have more energy. You're not going to be falling asleep as much as you're trying to study or nodding, like whatever it may be, right? Because you're going to be in better health. Now, the downside is you're going to have to like pee a lot more because you're constantly going to be drinking water. So that is a definite downside. That was a nice thing about being, fat, overweight, unhealthy, and just drinking energy drinks and sodas all day long. I didn't pee as much. So that was nice, but I would never trade that. It is a little frustrating, especially the first half of the day. You get up, you drink, like I'm almost at half a gallon of water, plus I've had an energy drink. I'm gonna go get a protein shake here in a second. Like the first half of the day is just like every 20 minutes, man, you're gonna be, but like that's a sign of health, okay? So joking a little bit, but that is a little bit of a downside. But other than that, like the quality of life is so much better. In fact, a youth pastor friend of mine, he just finished 75 Hard, and I don't actually have permission to tell the story now, but I'm going to anyways because he put it out there publicly, and I know I'm friends with him. He just finished the 75 Hard, and he's been talking like for the last few days. I keep seeing his post about how good he feels, and like confidence, but then also just physically. And like, dude's a youth pastor. He's got to be running around, and I think he's got more than that too. He's over youth ministry and some other stuff, associate pastor type stuff. The amount of running around or activities, because summer camp is coming up. You know how hard summer camp is as a fat person? I do, because I've done it like 15 times. I'm so excited about summer camp this year because it's the first year I'm not overweight. Even last year, I'd been working and getting really good, but I was still like 310 last year. I'm going to go into summer camp this year somewhere between 225 and 235. I was, when I started this off and I used to go to summer camps, I was a size 42 pants. Now I'm a size 32. I'm going to tell you, summer camp is vastly different. Even last year was a lot better because my endurance and stuff was up. I'm so excited for summer camp this year to be able to actually just keep up with the kids and not be exhausted and not always be thinking like, when's the next meal? When's the next meal? Right? If you're having to smuggle in your own food, like if you're bringing your own snacks so you can sneak off to your cabin and get like something because the meal in between are too long, because that's not self-control. That's not the fruit of the Spirit. Self-control, long-suffering, patience, right? Which causes you to not be able to be as loving and gentle and kind. Okay, at the risk of just making everyone mad, that's just my plea. As a minister, you have an obligation. I'm just going to say it as harsh as I can, and then I'm done. As a minister, as a Christian really, but as a minister, you have a double obligation to steward. Do you have to look like The Rock? No. You don't have to be super jacked. It's vanity and all these things. And, some of the stuff isn't even actually healthy for you. First off, the unhealthy version of bodybuilding is still 10 times healthier than morbidly obese. So let's just get that stuff off the table. BMI is not super accurate. Fine, don't use it. Who cares? Like, if you can't, the amount of people who stay fat because they don't like the way BMI works is astounding to me. It's like, pastors, it's the equivalent of when people talk to you and they're like, no, I'm not going to come to church and I'm not going to talk about God because I just can't understand if God was real, how he'd let bad things happen in the world. And I'm not going to talk about anything because of that. Like that's, or one of those dumb sticking points that like, sometimes that's you with your whole, well, the Bible says that it's of some benefit, or, I don't like how BMI works, or, I've got those are the same, you're doing the same thing. So here we go. We're going to end. You're doubly so should be accountable. Or a good steward, you'll be accountable for the stewardship of your health, of what God's given you. You are an example to others, and you're setting a bad example. You're limiting the amount of ministry you can do. One, like I said, the time you have to do ministry, also the amount and effectiveness of ministry. You struggle sometimes toward the end of the day with students. You get a little cranky, you get a little late. Camps, youth conventions, lose 40 pounds. The students will get a lot less annoying. They're still going to be stupid and annoying, right? But you're going to love them. And it's going to be a lot easier to love them, even in those moments. Lose 40 pounds and the annoyingness of your students will go away by 40% or whatever it is. And I'm going to say it at the end of the day, if you are morbidly obese as a minister, you're sinning. you're living in sin. And so it's easy to be like, oh, look, this pastor embezzled, this pastor had an affair, this pastor da-da-da. You're no better than them. You just happen to be living in sin in a way that like the church doesn't really hold accountable, because most likely everyone at your district or your denominational office, whatever, is probably in worse shape than you, or the same bad shape, but they're just 30, 40 years older than you, so they're not going to call you out on it because they also aren't living that way themselves. And so we've kind of just brushed it under the rug. But what is the scripture that talks about how what's in darkness will be exposed to light? We're seeing it right now. We're seeing this be exposed. We have more and more Christian men who are stepping up and saying, you're supposed to be a pastor. I'm just a lay person, but I can clearly see how you as a pastor are living in sin, and starting to call it out. We're starting to see even ministers who are getting in shape. They're starting to be better stewards, better examples, and they're getting flack. They're getting called all kinds of things, but that's only going to last for so long. It's going to get to the point where eventually your ministry it's going to be like on blast for like, oh yeah, no, don't go there. That pastor's living in immorality. Really? What's he doing? Is he still leaving the church? No. Oh, is he sleeping with his secretary? No. What's he doing? What's his immorality? He's a glutton. Like he's no different than the alcoholic. You can find down at the bar. You're gonna find him at the buffet, right? Bar, buffet, right? He can't even walk up to the stage without having to catch his breath. Oh yeah. I'm gonna go there. Why would I go to a church where the pastor is blatantly living in sin? He came in, it's gonna get to that point eventually. So here's your kind of early warning, I guess, to begin to get ready, get in shape. And you're like, I don't like this. I don't agree with most of this. Pray about it. See what God will have you do. I guarantee you God's not going to tell you, no, son, it's okay. You can be 420 pounds. You can be 360 pounds. You can be, you can take 12, 15, 20 years off your ministry that I had planned for you since the foundations of the world. Yeah, we'll just take that off of your list of what you were supposed to do. It's okay. It's okay, son. I understand that when you get snippy with people sometimes and you don't make that house visitation that I put on your heart to do because you were too tired or your legs hurt too much. You were aching a little bit too much. You had to, whatever. It's okay. We'll just scratch that right off and not hold you accountable for that. Begin to pray. I guarantee the Holy Spirit's not going to tell you that. Hey, pastor, youth pastor, kids pastor, worship, I don't care. If you're in ministry and you watch that and you're like, where I was years ago, like, come on, like, you need to get in shape. You need to be more disciplined in how you eat. You need to, be more active. We all know these things, right? It's not easy. I spent years knowing I needed to do it, feeling like in prayer time that like God was like impressing on me to get healthier and get stuff together and stop eating the way I was eating and all the different things, right? I would do youth events and I'd just be winded. We'd go on a hike and I couldn't keep up with the students. We'd have different youth events and I was just tired, sweaty, exhausted, moody, right? But it's just not easy. So I don't want to be, I think I said this in the video, but I don't want to be one of these gym influencer guys who's uses negative, you're fat, you got to get in shape, blah, 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 blah. Come on. If you're like me, I knew that. I knew I was overweight. I knew I was, first 330 pounds. And then I knew from the 330 pounds going all the way up to 360 pounds, I knew I needed to do something. I knew it was going the wrong direction. So I want to be more of a positive influence rather than hey, here's something you already know. Now you can feel worse about it. With that, I'm a certified personal trainer and I've not done much with it. I got it 6 months ago, give or take. And I've been praying about what I'm supposed to do with it. I felt like I was supposed to do it, and then I haven't really, I've not been taking on clients. I'm a pastor. I have 2 churches to pastor. I don't need, also a filmmaker, and I got some movies coming up. I don't need a side business. So I'm like, Lord, what am I supposed to do with this thing? And I feel from praying that I need to help you. So with that, I am going to do personal fitness coaching, but I'm not charging because that's just one more hurdle. And that was a big hurdle for me. I had no money. So that was a hurdle for me is having to Like I didn't have money for a gym membership. I didn't have money didn't have money for healthier food. I didn't, have money for a trainer. I had a buddy who was going to train me for free. And when I interviewed with him, I was like, okay, but I don't have money for a gym. So don't tell me to go work out at a gym. So if you find yourself in a situation where you want to do better, you want to make that change, you just don't know how, and you don't have the money to go and hire, it gets expensive. Like a cheap personal trainer is, $100 or $200 a month, and it just goes up from there depending on what, their experience and what you're looking for. A good one, I should say. So with that, if you need help, but you just need a friend and a coach, not whatever. Reach out to me, send me a message. You can comment on the video if you want, but I'm assuming you probably want a little more privacy than that. So reach out to me, send me a message. Yeah. And if you go to Eli'sChurch.com, you can find the church phone number. It's just my cell phone number. So you could look that up and just message or call me as well. For the right fit, I'm basically willing to do, or I feel led to do, I don't really have the time for this, but it is something I've been praying about and feel led to do, is to do free personal coaching for ministers in that situation who just feel stuck and need help getting out. So this is kind of my specialty, my expertise. I'm not a gym bro. I've tried to be a gym bro. I'm not, any of the whatever, like my kind of specialty at this point, because it's my experience is the weight loss, and specifically dealing with the mental side of things, like the mental / spiritual side of like being stuck with the discipline of things, the eating, the workouts, the mental blocks there. So if you fall into that category, let me know, reach out, and I will set up, I don't know, message back and forth, phone call, whatever it may be. This is the first time I literally just felt like God was speaking to me this at camp a couple weeks ago. And so I'm kind of just shooting my shot, as it were, in terms of, and just trusting that God will get this into the right hands. So yeah, let me know. And if we seem like a good fit and you are where I was and trying to get, out of that, then I will work with you. Like I said, no charge. If you know someone who needs this, who falls in that category, feel free to send the video over. It's long, but feel free to send the video over and I talk with them. So starts with a message. Send me a message and a text or a message on whatever social media platform you're seeing this on, and we'll go from there.